Awesome. Fantastic. Well, thank you everybody for joining. We're going to give it a couple minutes. I've got a couple preambles to bring folks in, but just watching our attendees roll up. Thank you very much for joining. Welcome everyone to this discussion on everything you always wanted to know about AmeriCorps as a gap year. We have a range of folks attending: students, parents, high school counselors, gap year providers, colleges, colleagues, and higher education. This is a veritable who's who of the gap year and service year space, and we couldn't be happier for you all for joining. Thanks for taking the time today. We hope it'll be an informative, inspiring hour for everyone who's curious about a domestic gap year. I'm going to give a brief overview, give a little bit of information about the topic, a couple points about housekeeping. We've got a short video to share, and then it'll be my pleasure to introduce our two speakers. Real briefly, my name is Ethan Knight. I get to work with the Gap Year Association, and I took my own gap year after high school. Took a year at college and then took a leave of absence. I was a bit of a non-traditional gap year student and went to do volunteer projects in India, Nepal, and Tibet, and came back to Oregon to work for 5 months and offset what I had spent. The Gap Year Association is a bit of a brainchild of that effort. And so I'm pleased to say that it's a membership nonprofit association tasked with coordinating the gap year movement in the United States. We represent a growing movement of believers in experiential, purpose-oriented learning, and we hold the Standards Development Organization title for gap year education as regulated by the U.S. Department of Justice and the Federal Trade Commission. The GYA is a supportive community to research, connect, plan, and launch gap years. We give students and alum many free resources, such as pathways to connect, planning and reentry resources, financial aid information, college deferral resources, and access to a network of experts. We are particularly thrilled to get to lean into a budding and profound partnership with AmeriCorps. Thanks to originally what was with Desiree Tucker-Serini when she came to visit our conference in North Carolina at the UNC Chapel Hill there last year. She did a great job, and then she stayed on for another day to stay and talk about some strategic planning for the gap year movement. We are excited for where this relationship can go. And so far, I'm proud to say that we're working towards integration of AmeriCorps data in our national alumni surveys. AmeriCorps have also started leaning into some of the gap year terminology, and we're working to make AmeriCorps programs searchable on the GYA website. Needless to say, with COVID-19, unemployment, and the current civil unrest, our country has a present need for domestic service gap years, and we couldn't be happier to have AmeriCorps on the call today. So the topic. 2020 has witnessed the onshoring of the gap year, and the timing could be better for how many are challenged right now in our country. Happily, Gen Z is showing up, and here we are with a Gen Z student, Karina Wilde, who will be joining us in a minute. But before I get into that, AmeriCorps offers an opportunity to serve the community, earn a living allowance and money for college, explore a potential career, and boost a college application, all while having an adventure. It sounds like a great gap year, especially in domestic terms. A couple points about housekeeping. This session is recorded, so if you miss any part of it, don't worry. We'll send you a link to the recording once we're done. If you have any technical difficulties, please feel free to raise a hand and one of the fellow panelists. We've got some folks from the Gap Year Association and AmeriCorps to be able to offer feedback, comments, answer your questions, or if there's a particularly good one, hopefully it can get flagged up and I can ask it and we can get our experts on the call to answer. And I think that's it. Now it's my pleasure to introduce our guest. So Barbara Stewart, welcome Barbara. I'm glad to have you. You were unanimously confirmed unanimously, not anonymously, definitely not the opposite. You were unanimously confirmed in 2018 to serve as the CEO of AmeriCorps, the Federal Agency for National Service and Volunteering. AmeriCorps brings people together to tackle the country's most pressing challenges, engaging more than 270,000 members and volunteers in service across the country. That's impressive. Barbara is passionate about the agency's service mission and the ways it strengthens communities, develops individuals, and fosters civic engagement. With more than 25 years of experience in the private, public, and nonprofit sectors, Barbara has focused on modernizing the agency's business operations, building sustainability, and positioning AmeriCorps for future growth. She's a great champion for the role of service in strengthening our communities and a believer in the value of gap years. Barbara, thanks for joining us today.
Ethan, thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Glad you're here. And next to Karina Wilde, Karina is 18, currently serving in AmeriCorps NCCC, that's National Civilian Conservation Corps, or Community Corps as it is, as a gap year between high school and college. AmeriCorps NCCC is a full-time, team-based residential program for 18 to 24-year-olds in which members gain valuable leadership and career skills as they serve communities. Frankly, it sounds like a great gap year. Originally from Colorado Springs, Karina is planning to attend Colorado Mesa University after AmeriCorps to study nursing. After college, she's considering joining the Navy. Corina is joining us from Sacramento, where her AmeriCorps team is currently serving with Habitat for Humanity, assisting with affordable home construction. Hi, Corina, how are you?
Hi, good. Thank you for having me.
Great, so thrilled to have you. And so I'm gonna go ahead and share a quick video. It's just a minute long, but I think it does a great job in talking about what the AmeriCorps experience is. And here we go. Hopefully you should all be oh.
You're a home for a family who's been out in the cold. You're a bottle of clean water in the hands of a thirsty child. You're a sandbag pushing back the flood. You're a traveler, a team member, a builder, a giver. You're a forklift driving, chainsaw wielding hand that reaches out. You're a line in the woods that fires can't cross. You're a garden that feeds a community. You're not help is on the way. Your help is here. Join AmeriCorps NCCC. Be the greater good.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. We don't want to play the next thing. We want to talk to you. Barbara, I get to have some questions for you, and I'm thrilled to get to ask them. So here we go. Let's start with some basics. What is AmeriCorps and why does it make for a good gap year?
So Ethan, thanks so much again for having me, and thank you for inviting Karina, because she really will be the best person to describe this year of service. But we're grateful for the opportunity. AmeriCorps is the federal agency for service and volunteering, and an AmeriCorps year is a year of service. It's a year of serving in your community, and it is truly a fantastic and really perfect gap year. It's a great way of spending a year between school or during school to take an opportunity to reflect and mature and learn and serve in a community, either in your neighborhood or somewhere else throughout the country. We have opportunities literally anywhere in the country. They're 10-month to year-long opportunities. Our NCCC program, where Karina's serving, is one of our terrific opportunities for 18 to 24-year-olds, but you can serve in an AmeriCorps program really at any age. So if you want to take a gap year at 45 in terms of your career, that's another opportunity. But I know our focus today is really more on young people and the gap years that that they may be interested in taking. Pardon me. So just to put a little bit more information for our viewers, gap year opportunities exist at more than 2,000 organizations, 50,000 locations throughout the country. And we work with nonprofits. Pardon me, I have a tickle in my throat. We place AmeriCorps members with nonprofit organizations throughout the country, many of whom your listeners would be very familiar with: the Red Cross, Habitat for Humanity, Catholic Charities, City Year, Reading Partners. So there are a whole lot of different opportunities and places where young people and people of any age can serve a gap year.
Awesome. Barbara, let me bide you a moment to grab a drink there. And generally, so it's interesting, when we talk about the gap year at the Gap Year Association, we define it as a semester or year typically taken after high school, before college or starting career, in order to that's of experiential learning, in order to deepen one's practical, personal, and professional awareness. And it's interesting because we define a gap year more so on that window of things, just because frankly, they're easier to track. And you're really setting sort of goals for your future life, how you want to sort of live with your career. But there's a lot of gappers who do it after their bachelor's degrees, or what we also like to call golden gappers, people who might do a mid-career break or something and do something like AmeriCorps. Would that be a good fit for them too?
A fantastic fit, because again, our programs are for all ages. We have programs that are great opportunities for people right out of high school, but also opportunities for folks right out of college, in between grad school and college. And as you were saying, golden gappers are right up our sleeve as well. Interestingly, about 15% of AmeriCorps members are 30 and older. So AmeriCorps is a great opportunity to learn new skills, try something out, try a different employment opportunity while serving in your community and really making a difference, gaining new skills, as I said, and making a transition to something else.
Awesome. Great. Well, it sounds like it would be more of a sort of a launch pad than a transition. And then I just noticed, so AmeriCorps has gone through some pretty big rebranding. It was great to see some of the branding in the video that we just saw. Would you talk to me a little bit about what led you to that rebrand and what it means?
Absolutely, Ethan. Really what led us to the rebranding was research and recognition that unfortunately only about half of Americans are aware of AmeriCorps. And you can't serve in an AmeriCorps program if you don't know about it, just like you can't do a gap year if you don't know that it's an opportunity. So we feel very strongly that we need to expand the number of Americans who know about their opportunity to serve. And so we're simplifying our brands and putting all our efforts behind AmeriCorps and AmeriCorps Senior, expressing to the American public their opportunities to serve their communities for a year and make a huge difference. You know, another point I might make, some of your viewers may not be aware, but AmeriCorps is also a paid opportunity. And the relevance there is that people from all socioeconomic backgrounds can take advantage of an AmeriCorps year. There's a stipend, and in addition to that, folks who complete a year of AmeriCorps service get a 6,000 plus. It's pegged to the Pell Grant, but a little bit more than a $6,000 education award that they can use for future education or to pay back student loans. So that makes an AmeriCorps year of service particularly accessible, really, to all Americans.
Awesome. And so you can use that. That's called the Siegel Award, the 6,000 plus award. We can use that on what kinds of things? You said educational award. Can you use that on what kinds of things could you use that on?
So you can use it at colleges or universities, community colleges. It also can be used to pay back educational student loans that have already been incurred. So it's both forward looking for future education, or again, to pay down student loans.
That's fantastic. Great. Well, I'm thrilled. It's nice. And I know that when AmeriCorps sends its core members out, it's with a great degree of support too. So it's not like you're sending students or core members out by themselves. There's always supervision. There's always support. I've managed, had the good grace to manage an AmeriCorps Vista before, and interface with a lot of NCCC members and city year members myself. So I can only say that I've been impressed with every one of the core members I've had a chance to talk to.
Great to hear. I'm not surprised, but that's great to hear.
Totally. Well, it's a great transition to Karina. Karina, Barbara said it. You're going to be the sort of the best person to talk about this because you're living the experience. Tell me about AmeriCorps NCCC. What have you been doing so far? And where are you? Yeah.
Yeah, so we're located in Sacramento. So we're staying on the campus of the Pacific Region and NCCC. And right now we're working with Habitat for Humanity, some of the best people I've ever met in my life. We do this thing called Rock the Block, and it's where we take these houses that need repairs and we, rock their house, and we have a week to do it, and we get it done. We're really efficient. We've gotten a lot of things done. The site supervisors are super awesome. The house owners are super awesome. You need these people that maybe don't have a lot, but they want to give you so much. And I think it's like such an amazing thing to see. Even last week, we met the Congresswoman Matsui, like we were on the news, like it's so awesome. So.
That's cool. How did you hear about AmeriCorps and NCCC?
Yeah. So my best friend Rowan, he was in FEMA Corps last year and he absolutely loved it. He said it was like one of the best experiences of his life. So when he came back from Christmas break, he told me about it and he's like, Karina, I think this is right up your alley. Like, this is exactly what you would love to do. And so I looked into it more and I was like, yeah, this is perfect. So I applied.
Awesome. Great. And from the time that you applied until the time that you were, starting your sort of orientation, how long was that roughly? Do you have a sense?
Ooh, I would say 6 months.
Okay. Yeah, it took a bit of time, but all good things do. And so when you're doing now I understand that your work there with NCCC is with various phases, right? So you're just closing out your first phase, is that right?
Yep, that's right. We're almost done.
Awesome. And so tell me the difference between like your first phase and your second phase.
Okay, so I would say like when we first got here, it was just like training and we were getting to know everyone. And then it's kind of like the first phase transitioning. It's like just, you get that really, you build up your work ethic, you're working a lot, but you're also like getting to be more involved, which feels really good.
Nice. And then phase two, are the projects going to shift at all, or what kind of projects will you be doing in phase two?
So you have 3 rounds, and they're all split up and it goes from indoor to outdoor. So right now we're working on an outdoor project. The next phase, we're probably going to move to a different location because they like to move you around so that you get to, travel, and work with different projects. So our next one, we don't know what it's going to be yet, but we know it's probably going to be indoor and somewhere else. So it's kind of exciting and nerve-wracking. So.
Yeah, every transition can bring a lot of opportunities too. And then let me ask you, in my mind, the big question, because I know that a lot of students won't consider a gap year because it's off the beaten path, right? You're being a bit of a pioneer probably amongst your peers. What did your friends and your family say when you said you wanted to do NCCC?
Yeah, so my mom was super supportive. She always loved stuff like that. She's just like me. Some of my family, they did the military and they were like, wow, they never heard of it. So they were kind of a little like off put. And I don't think I don't know, I guess they probably expected me to go to college and join a sorority kind of type thing, which, I may do at some point and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think they were just a little like shooken up, like not expecting it. So.
Mm-hmm. Did most of your friends, did you get any other friends who joined you in your cohort?
I did not. I came into this alone, but a lot of my friends, they're in college right now, they're doing the Zoom college and, they're in their sororities and, maybe doing sports in college, but they definitely, I've had some of them tell me like, even like, I'm so jealous of you. Like you get to meet the Congresswoman and travel and yeah.
Yeah. Well, especially right now with COVID going on, those seem like pretty amazing opportunities in counterpoise. So yeah, cool. Well, thrilled to have you, Karina. Thank you again for joining. I'm going to pivot back to Barbara and ask you. I think Karina's just opened some doors around what NCCC is, but I know that that's just one of the many opportunities under AmeriCorps to do a great gap year. So can you talk me through a little bit about some of the different types of gap years that a student might do or a Corps member might avail themselves of through AmeriCorps?
Yeah, great question, Ethan. So there are a variety of different opportunities. Our NCCC program, which is the one that Corina is participating in this year, is a 10-month residential team-based program for 18 to 24-year-olds. And by residential, I mean that the AmeriCorps members start their year of service and have as a base one of 4 campuses located throughout the country. And they work in teams. And as Corina was saying, they travel and they do some work indoors, some work outdoors, and they have 3 or 4 different service experiences throughout the year at a minimum, which is a wonderful taste of different ways that you can serve in your community and just a great variety. It's also a way to see the country a little bit, do some travel, have some exploration, work with a variety of different people. So NCCC is one opportunity, and I think it's a particularly good opportunity for someone between high school and college or an individual who hasn't completed college But again, there are college graduates in the program, so there's a range of experience. We also have a program called AmeriCorps Vista, which is a year of service, not necessarily team-based, although sometimes Vistas do serve in teams, and they work specifically in capacity building programs or positions with normally nonprofits and sometimes local governments to help the organizations build their capacity. And there's a wide range of service that a Vista might do. They might help with strategy, they might help with fundraising. A lot of young people have much stronger technical skills, and so they frequently help with the technology in the organization in which they work. But they're working in capacity building, and those tend to be what we call indoor jobs. You're working within an organization, probably not outdoors per se. But then there's also, with our partners, a wide range of other AmeriCorps experiences. So for example, Habitat for Humanity, which works with our NCCC program, also has AmeriCorps members who work throughout the country supporting volunteers. So while the Habitat member may be both engaged in building and rebuilding a home, they also are often supervising other volunteers. So many folks have probably encountered AmeriCorps members when they themselves have served as volunteers for a weekend or something with Habitat. We have a lot of programming affiliated with education. So some well-known programs include Reading Partners or City Year, but there are programs throughout the country where AmeriCorps members can tutor or mentor or provide encouragement to students to make sure that they're staying on track. We also do a lot of work with veterans and military families. So there are programs along those lines. And then opportunity that's also very popular is working with the Conservation Corps, and that would probably be more of an outdoor opportunity, possibly working in a national park or a state park. And then finally, we do a fair amount of work in the disaster response space. And that has been, in many cases, one of the most life-changing experiences for AmeriCorps members. I mean, a gap year that you would never forget. When AmeriCorps members help in a community after a hurricane or a tornado or a firefight or fire like we've had in the West Coast, I mean, to be able to help people at their most urgent time of need and make a difference in a community is really a life-changing experience. So it's almost, there are almost too many opportunities, but if folks go to AmeriCorps.gov, that's our website. That's a great resource for being able to look at the various types of opportunities that are available, both geographic and also indoors, outdoors, direct service, capacity building. The bad news is it's a little confusing, but the really good news is that there truly is something for every interest, every geography. So there's a lot of different opportunities to do a gap year and to serve in AmeriCorps and help your community, particularly at a time like this where there are so many demands throughout the country where service can make a big difference.
So I couldn't agree more. It's funny, on our side, I talk about the gap year as oftentimes it's not a one size fits all. It's much more of a choose your own adventure. And that makes it a little bit challenging for people to navigate. But the whole idea is part of the process is the navigating, and the value that you get on the other end of it is resulting from all of that work that came before. I think it's also really interesting because, we talk about the onshoring of the gap year. And so most, historically gap year used to be thought about as international. And now is the window that everyone's lifting their head and saying, wow, there's all these great opportunities. I have to say, as a young guy, when I traveled on my gap year initially, I understood the rest of the world far better. And it wasn't until I took this job that I started really understanding our own country and traveling through, some of the lesser known states and the lesser known towns and cities. And there's so much right here in our own backyard, especially in a COVID time. I know that most students who are thinking about a gap year, they're going to have to consider something domestically for the most part. And so it seems like a great opportunity, especially knowing that AmeriCorps, I know that when this all hit, you all had to go back to DC to really position yourselves for the great work that's ahead of us. and you've done it. And so I'm thrilled to be able to sort of applaud you along the way and hopefully share some space, because I think it's so good for us. Let me transition. It's a great transition to Karina, if I can. Wanted to ask you a question. So I know you've only been in it a few months. We're talking about some of the outcomes around gap years. Like, give me a sense, like what are some of the things that you've learned so far? If you have a story you'd like to tell, that's a fine way to go about it, but a couple core takeaways, things that you learned in the time that you've been there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like the biggest thing that I've learned is like resilience, kind of. So like any program you do, you're gonna have your ups and downs for sure, you know, no matter what you do. But here it was more towards the beginning. It was like I had a different team than I am on now, and we got disbanded 2 days before we went on spike. So I got thrown into this new team, and I'm thinking, oh, you've got to be kidding me. Like, why me? I was upset. But then like I ended up loving my new team. And I think it was like nice for me to see that like no matter what life throws at me, like which this program has really helped with, like no matter what life throws at me, I'm fine. Like I got it. I'm just going to keep pushing on. And I think this program, it's so transitional. So it's like you get so good at like transitioning and like doing different things and being in different situations, which is so huge because that's what life is. So
yeah, very well said. I can't believe you're only 18 and you're coming to that. I'm 42, and I think I just started to get that in the latter part of my 30s. So you give us hope, Karina. Thank you for that. Barbara, same question to you. I know that you've been crisscrossing the country, interviewing and meeting Corps members. Any core takeaways or stories that you would like to tell? Things that sort of really, tell the story better than anything?
Oh, there's so many great stories. I've had such an opportunity to see so many AmeriCorps members in action and what a difference it makes. And what a difference this year has made in their lives as well. It's been really exciting to see. I mentioned the natural disaster response, and truly going to Florida after Hurricane Michael and seeing a group of people from all over the country come together to work together to solve problems for families in very desperate need was so touching. And it was so great to see how well they were working together and the relationships they had built. So that was special because of the setting, as well as the young people who had chosen to do that. But, I just had an experience this summer where I visited a AmeriCorps team in Chicago, and they had originally planned to serve as tutors in a charter school. That's what they signed up for. And much like Karina, they had to be flexible. The pandemic struck and the charter school closed. And rather than go home, they chose to stay in the community, and they basically managed and manned a food pantry because food insecurity had become a much bigger issue in the community in which they served, which to me says so much about their character, that they signed up for one thing and they were willing to identify what the community needs were at the time, and they had the ability to pivot, and that their focus really was on the community, not on the task that they'd originally signed up for. So that was fun to watch. I could go on and on, Ethan, about the great things that young people are doing, and people of all ages, so making a difference in their community. One thing if you will indulge me, that I'd like to mention for those on the phone and listening, I recognize that we're in the midst of a pandemic. And so some of you may be thinking, wow, do I want to encourage a student, my child, or if you're on the phone now and you're thinking, is this something I want to do, but we're in a pandemic, and how comfortable is that? And so let me just assure you that the health and safety of our AmeriCorps members is our #1 priority. We have protocols in place at NCCC and working with our partners throughout the country to make sure that they remain healthy and safe, and that we're very conscious of that. But your ability to travel throughout the country, to go to another community or work in your own community at this time during this pandemic is certainly easier than traveling internationally. And the need is here. There's certainly a need throughout the country. So, but I just wanted to reaffirm that We've had to pivot, we've had to change. Our programs are a little different, but we are definitely taking health and safety as a #1 priority as we continue on with the great work of our AmeriCorps programs.
Brilliant, brilliant. I'm thrilled to see it. I know that when this all first hit, I mean, for a moment, for a hot moment, I thought I was going to actually take a vacation because I thought gap year was going to sort of maybe sort of dry up for a moment, and
Yeah.
that passed within a day.
Yeah.
It's been a lot more work, but also a lot more need, and it's been really nice to find greater purpose in that need. I always find that's a good thing. Barbara, like, give me one quick question for you: is if I'm just totally new to AmeriCorps, do you have any ideas for how you might help me self-sort my way into sort of what I should really be thinking about? Like, should I pick up a phone and just call a local recruiter? Is there a main AmeriCorps bank? Like, how would you advise someone, especially now in a COVID time, advise sort of navigating the AmeriCorps process?
So AmeriCorps.gov is the best place to start. And we do provide information about NCCC, AmeriCorps Vista, and then our AmeriCorps partnership program with nonprofits throughout the country. But some things to think about really are, do you want a year-long team-based program? Do you want to stay in your community or go somewhere else? Do you want to work indoors or outdoors? No, that's a big difference. Do you want to work in capacity building? And by that, I mean strategy, fundraising, or do you want to have hands-on work in the community? And we really have all of those opportunities. And again, our website, AmeriCorps.gov, is did I say AmeriCorps.com before? Shame on me.
No, you said
AmeriCorps.gov is the place to go to begin the search.
Great, great. And asking other Corps members like Karina is always a great aspect.
And we can connect individuals with Corps members as well. Our best advocates, our most compelling spokespersons are our Corps members. And there are more than 1 million Americans who've served in AmeriCorps in the last 25 plus years. So there are alumni all over the place.
Wow, that's so crazy to think about. 1 million Corps members. That's quite an accomplishment. Well, COVID-19, it has absolutely just sort of changed how we do all of this. And I remember early on when this hit, one of the conversations I was having was with a city recruiter, and it sort of started to shape a lot of my thinking around sort of what the gap year was going to be in this era. And so largely what I've been saying to folks is that we've seen a massive increase in the number of opportunities for young people to do a gap year domestically, happily AmeriCorps being a great one, but also frequently a subsequent sort of reduction in the capacity of each one. So in that case, it was like normally they were going to serve 400 Corps members. This time it was 300. So you are really thinking through all the COVID-19 protocols, and it's really nice to see that that's being so well handled on your side.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Karina, I wanted to ask you the question on COVID too. How has COVID gotten into sort of, your protocols, as a cohort with your fellow Corps members? Are you all like do you have AmeriCorps, face masks on that are branded and looking sleek like that?
Yeah, we do. They provided masks for all of us, which was super awesome. They've gone through every measure. Like, there is so many disinfectant wipes everywhere. We're super cautious. Like, if someone has a temperature, everyone is to quarantine. So it's super safe. Like, I do not have any worries. Even if you have like mild symptoms, it's taken care of. So
that's amazing. That's amazing. I'm sure that probably puts your parents at ease too. Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
Well, good. Do you have any other stories to share? Things that you've encountered along your time while you're there in Sacramento or during orientation? I'd love to hear any other stories if you have some.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what's so awesome about AmeriCorps is you meet people that are like completely different. Like, we're a campus full of people that are nothing alike, and we all come together. You get to talk to people. Like, I've met people that they were on and off homeless, and they came here and they're trying to get their life back on track after high school and get on the path to college. I've met people that, were cheer captains, and now they're here trying to be more humanitarian. Like, it's just so awesome. And you honestly, even with this COVID stuff, you still get, like, we've explored so much of this area, and it's so awesome. And you get so close with these people. Like, these are people that you're probably going to be friends with for the rest of your life. And you're working, you're helping people. Honestly, I would recommend this program to anyone.
Nice. I just know how many sort of your peers, folks your age, I wish I could say I was part of that, but folks your age are just struggling from a lack of social engagement. I mean, you can only be in your room so long doing Zoom classes on college before you just start pulling your hair out and they're like, okay, I need to touch another human being. And it sounds like you've got a great cohort from a really diverse background. Has the cohort really gelled well together?
Yes, absolutely. 100%. Like, even on my team, I would say we're all like super different people, whether we're introverts, extroverts, but it's just like, it's so crazy because you all just come together and like you're just so close, and it's really cool.
I love that. I love that. I mean, let's be honest. There's so much division in our country right now, and ultimately, I think it's more so often a lack of communication than it is a lack of sort of really sort of caring about some of the same things. And so, the ability to sort of stand shoulder to shoulder. This is what I say whenever a gap year talks about a volunteering or a service program is now it's no longer about the two of us, but we are both sharing a perspective about something that has a greater need. And so oftentimes when we're volunteering, we talk about it, you know, the story is not about you. It's about somebody else who's in need, or who we are able to support or offer perspective or cross educate, learn from, and educate as well. Those are so powerful statements. I'm sure that those are going to sort of set you up for your future. So it's a great natural transition. Like, you know, I know you're like you're still well into your AmeriCorps year, but talk to me a little about sort of what's on the other side of this.
I mean, like, what do you mean? Sorry.
Well, like, yeah, no, totally. Like your career or college
Oh,
plans. You had mentioned maybe being going into nursing, which sounds really
yes.
exciting. It's also going to be a great. I'd say it's a needed sort of career. You're going to be well taken care of. But like, how do you think AmeriCorps will help prepare you for sort of that college pathway and then nursing if that's where you choose to go?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, my plan right now is I'm gonna go to Macy University and I want to get my nursing degree and I want to use that to go in the Navy. But I think a lot of it is, especially going like through college, nursing school, I'm heard is so hard, and getting through boot camp, like the stuff I'm building in AmeriCorps, like independence here, you know, maybe not living off like my extravagant budget, and I would say even like resilience, which can push you so far in life. So it's like something knocks me down now, I'm going to get back up. A year from now, I'm going to remember this in my time in AmeriCorps, and I'm going to think, yeah, I had my low points, but those led to some really high points. And I think that's something I can take away for years, and I can, you know, tell my kids about, and then, you know, they can experience the same thing. And I think it's going to go really far, whether it's in college or the Navy or whatever I'm doing.
Brilliant. Yeah, a
If we
college
can,
degree is great. Oh yeah, go ahead, Barbara.
I was just going to add on to that, can-do spirit, that resilience, the leadership skills that Karina and her core members are learning are absolutely valued uh, uh, attributes that we see schools, colleges, and grad schools interested in, and we also see employers. We actually have a program called the Employers of National Service. It's a joint program with AmeriCorps and the Peace Corps. And it's basically more than 600 employers who give preference to AmeriCorps members when they're doing hiring. And it makes all the sense in the world that these are employers who recognize tenacity, the can-do spirit, the commitment, all of the things that Corina exemplifies and that she and her colleagues are developing and experiencing this year make for a fantastic employee. So that's one of the little benefits of serving in AmeriCorps, is that you get that preferential treatment from employers of national service. So as you're thinking about the benefits of the experience, leadership development, financial support, the education award, the employers of national service benefit, there's just so many reasons why AmeriCorps would be a fantastic gap year.
Yeah, it's almost, I mean, and I say this for gap years in general, but doubling down so for AmeriCorps. I mean, and I'm the guy to say it, but I mean, let's be honest, it seems like it's more of a why wouldn't you then why would you? At the end of the day, I mean, the benefits are that good. And having done this for 25 or 20 years, I've been doing the gap year work for about 20 years. And I can tell you how many times, from our perspective, a student, from yours, a core member, will go into a job interview, and maybe they're from Yale or something sort of with a great name, Harvard, and the conversation almost inevitably sort of totally bypasses the college history and focuses in on this time, because it's so much more defining for the individual, and it gives you such a greater sense of purpose and frankly sort of like investment in whatever you're doing next. There's a good reason why. So we have some data to show that 86% of people who took a gap year and graduated into their career say that they're satisfied or very satisfied with their careers. And that just makes a heap of sense. And you have to think that translates to quality of life, enjoyment of life, income, longevity in a career. These are all things where we spend a lot of time doing something that we care about. Ideally, it's sort of well-oriented. Gosh, it's so cool to see that this is, I mean, it's so funny because like the way that you talk about AmeriCorps in so many ways is the exact same way that we talk about a gap year, just with a couple sort of slight definitional changes. And then you all get to fund your core members, which is something that we haven't quite cracked the nut of. But I know that's a major priority for us, and college credit is something that we're after as well, to try and get there. But I know that you've seen a spike of interest because of COVID. Tell me about that spike of interest, like what that's been, and then sort of, you know, how maybe some of those changes. So I talked about maybe going back to DC to pivot for some bigger initiatives. Maybe you can clue us into some of those, Barbara.
We have seen a spike in interest. Our programs always have a lot of demand, a lot of young people and people of all ages who are interested in participating in the programs. But this year, because of all the changes that we've been discussing, we've seen an increase between 25 and about 40% of applicants to our programs, which is great. And if people don't do it this year, they can maybe do it next year. But we're seeing a definite increase in applications to our programs. There's also a lot of bipartisan conversation going on in Congress about increasing funding for these opportunities, with the recognition that the service that AmeriCorps and AmeriCorps seniors are providing in the communities is absolutely essential, addressing a wide variety of longstanding issues, but also COVID-related health and economic issues. So there is discussion that is very bipartisan about expanding the number of AmeriCorps and AmeriCorps senior opportunities.
Amazing. I'm excited to see it. And we talked a little bit about sort of, you know, concerns for parents and families and those kinds of things. What would you answer to a parent who's like, hey, I'd love to do this, but I'm not so much concerned about COVID. I think we answered that one, but just sort of like, what does this mean in terms of future careers? Like I'm concerned about sending my kid out.
So I'd answer it a number of different ways. As you were just discussing, there's a lot of benefits to taking a year off, to getting off the beaten path, to better refining what you do or maybe don't want to do. Because a lot of times people change their career paths after a gap year, a year of AmeriCorps, to rethink what they want to do. So it's a year of maturation, of exploration, of a service year affords people the opportunity to see other communities and how other people live, or to work in their own community, but to really have the self-affirming experience of giving back and making a difference, addressing important needs. I would also say that the topic that you and Karina were discussing earlier about the breadth of backgrounds for participants in these programs is another maturation and personal development experience. You know, a lot of times at 18, young people haven't had the opportunity to get to know people from different parts of the country or outside of their own community. And AmeriCorps is a fantastic way to broaden your horizons in terms of who's an American? What do people from other parts of the country think, and how do they act, and how in service and having a common mission, fantastic relationships develop. So I strongly encourage parents to consider this as an opportunity. And again, for those of you who might be advising families, this is an opportunity that not only doesn't cost something, but actually provides financial support for education and some financial support during the year. So it's a great opportunity for Americans from every background to consider.
I love that you sort of brought that point back up about sort of the cohort, the diversity on the cohort, because I have to say, so I did a summer of wildland firefighting. You're energy efficient there. It's good.
Exactly.
I did a summer of wildland firefighting in Southern Oregon one summer, and the diversity of people that were on those fires was an eye-opener for me. I mean, I grew up in Portland in an urban environment, and we had every manner of person on that fire. And again, you know, it wasn't about us. It was about sort of the task in front of us, which was the fire. And, you know, the types of things that Karina is sort of diving into. Karina, do you have any of your Corps members that are out there, or anybody from that you know who's out doing any of the wildfire work or the mop-up work?
I do, yeah. A lot of my really close friends are actually, they're working in Oregon with the fire right now, and they're working with Red Cross. They love it. They love it. I know they're going to be really sad when they have to move to a different project, but definitely disaster relief is, even our group really wants that one. It's amazing. It helps so much. You know, you help so many people. And so I think it's, yeah, for sure.
That's amazing. What kinds of disaster work, this is kind of a question for both of you, but what kinds of disaster work might an NCCC Corps member sort of take on during their time? And sort of what would the actual sort of projects be? So your friends who are doing the wildland sort of firefighting, what are they actually doing?
It's more of like, they help people, you know? So it's kind of like, they're not going to be like out there being firefighters, you know, they're not certified firefighters, but they're going to be out there like helping get people food, making sure that they're safe, making sure they have water. They're huge. They're essential. You know, they help people move and make sure they're safe. They really do a lot. Yeah.
Well, and it's firefighting, it's hurricanes. Barbara, same question to you.
Yeah, the range of activities is pretty broad. One important thing that our AmeriCorps members do is organize other volunteers. A lot of people want to support activities after a disaster, and somebody's got to organize them. But our AmeriCorps members actually do the physical, hands-on, post-hurricane muck and gut homes and help rebuild homes through organizations with whom we partner. So there's both the hands-on, there's working, trying to organize school kids after a disaster to make sure that they have some semblance of normalcy. So it really ranges from the physical work to the organizational work to the helping people work that Karina just mentioned, of literally making sure that those on the front lines and those impacted by a disaster have food and shelter and water.
So critical. I mean, it's always easy to think about the frontline folks, but the frontline folks can only do their work if there's the trio of, you know, organizational support behind them.
Right.
That's so important. That's so important.
And right now, because of COVID too, there's such strict volunteer guidelines. And because we're like tight knit and we went and got COVID tested, it's easier for us to volunteer for that stuff.
Interesting. That's a good point. That's a good point. It's a very good point. Well, Barbara, question for you is, because I think COVID, there's so many opportunities that are out there. I guess, what should a prospective gapper think about when searching AmeriCorps opportunities? It's sort of a restating of an earlier question, but I'm thinking about it from sort of, well, actually, you know what? Let me take that question back. I've got a better one that I want to ask. Here's the better question. And this is again for both of you, because I think it's really important that we think about sort of the students and the experiences that they're having, sort of the local community members and how they're benefiting. But also, I think it's important to think about the supervisors, the staff that are there with the sort of the Corps members who are talking. And so, Barbara, first question to you is, talk to me a little bit about who are the supervisors that are there with these Corps members? Like, if I'm a parent, like, are they trained? You know, what assurances do I have that, you know, they're going to be well taken care of?
Well, broadly, have that assurance. Be not afraid. It varies by program. You know, with our NCCC program, we have actually some interesting layers. We have professionals who support all of our teams and all of our core members like Karina, who have done this for years and know how to provide them with the support they need. We also, for each group of AmeriCorps NCCC members, we have team leaders, which are AmeriCorps members who are serving as leaders of their own team. And they may be a little bit older, although not always. We don't have an age limit for team leaders, but they're AmeriCorps members who are serving alongside their team. But again, we have a whole professional network supporting our AmeriCorps NCCC residential program. But additionally, with the programs throughout the country that are other than NCCC, there is absolutely supervision, there's direction, and in all cases, there's a real focus on working safely at all times, but particularly now during the pandemic, there's a real focus on that health concern.
Yeah, no, super critical. I mean, because I know that the reports are out there for college students, and college students, it's easy to sort of get complacent with stuff. That's why you have to have somebody there whose job it is to remind and constantly remind and such.
Yes.
Yeah.
But another piece of an AmeriCorps year is to develop the leadership within yourself to be able to self-direct as well. So while we do provide supervision and support and the tools to succeed, we also allow core members to have the experience to grow themselves and to be self-sufficient. So there's a lot of support, but there's also a lot of opportunity to grow as individuals over the course of the year.
Brilliant. Yeah, it's not holding their hands through everything.
Right.
It's making sure that they have what they need in order to sort of advance themselves. And I totally think that's Karina, you were the one who used the word resilience and grit. That's what this is all about. The ability to self-actualize, make true your own future. Same question to you. Like, talk to me about sort of the supervisors or the staff that you get to work with there. Like, tell me about them.
Yeah, so each team has their designated team leader. Ours is awesome. I love her so much. She's super outgoing, and she kind of like, when we're not feeling good about something, she tries to like get us back on the right path. And they're not there to be your mom, to be your teacher, your camp counselor. It's not like that at all. It's just kind of it's someone who's your peer, but also someone who can direct you in the right place and, keep you in like line, I would say, keep everyone in line, but also keep everyone in the right mindset. Mm-hmm. They're super awesome. We have STLs. They do a lot of stuff for us. They get us like all the gear we need, depending on the job we're going out for. And we do have, because I'm on campus, I was lucky enough to get some of the staff members that, like the higher up staff members, they're here too. And they talk to us about, a number of things, like whether it's about upcoming events or whatever it may be. But they definitely, it's more of it's not going to hold your hand, but I'm going to guide you, which is super awesome.
Right. So if you were like having like just a really rough day, let's say, you got some bad news back home, no doubt you talk to some of your fellow Corps members. Would you also lean on your leader, your field leader, trip leader?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm super close with my team leader. I don't want to say she's like a mom because she's like 22, but she's kind of like a mom. So
she's
for
sure.
Yeah.
That's great. Cool. Well, good. So we're almost to the end of the show, and I want to make sure that I give sort of ample time to each one of you to sort of say any final thoughts. So why don't I, Barbara, let's start with you. Any final things that you'd like to mention just at the end of the S?
Well, Ethan, first of all, thank you. Thank you for including Karina. Thank you for including me in this conversation. Karina is the best example we can provide. She's a lot more interesting than I am in terms of giving your audience a real feel for what this NCCC experience in a year of AmeriCorps service is. So Karina, thank you very much for representing AmeriCorps so beautifully. For your audience, I would say, think about AmeriCorps as a year of growth, a year of opportunity. It is an opportunity for people from all backgrounds because there is financial support, and young people from all backgrounds also take great pride in earning the stipend that they receive from the year of service. So it is a great opportunity to see different parts of the country if you so desire, or work in your own community. A year of AmeriCorps will be a growth opportunity, but also an opportunity to make new friends, as Karina just said, learn new things, broaden your horizons, and grow as a person. So think about this as a gap year and also a year to make a big difference right now when our country really needs more Americans to step up and serve. So I encourage all of you to consider this and to share with those with whom you're influencing what a great opportunity a year of service would be.
Brilliant. Well said, Barbara. Double down, exclamation mark, thumbs up, smiley face. Well said. I couldn't agree more. Same question to Karina. Right back at you. Any final words you'd like to say?
Yeah, absolutely. I also want to thank you so much for bringing me on here and letting me talk about AmeriCorps. I love this program so much. I am so thankful that I made the choice to join this program. And if there's anything I could say to the people watching this, whether it's counselors, parents, people who want to join AmeriCorps, do it. Take that jump, because this program will change your life. I'm not even being dramatic. I swear. It's so awesome. It opens the doors to so much, whether it's putting it on your resume. Like, first of all, this looks so good on a resume that you did AmeriCorps. You know, they provide so much for you, and they really open the door to great opportunities. And maybe you're sitting there and you're like, I don't know what I want to do next year. Do this. It is so rewarding and you will not regret it.
Well said. Well said. Barbara, your team chose a great ambassador, obviously. Karina, it's been such a pleasure to have you. Really, thank you. Thank you for the service that you've been doing, the service that you're about to do, and as you pursue your nursing degree, the service you will continue to do, especially in times like these. I mean, who knows how long COVID is here for? But I do know that we are in unprecedented times right now. And one of the sayings that comes to mind lately is that if you don't know your neighbors will too easily become your enemies in this day and age. So it's simple. It's a simple carrot, which is to know your neighbors, and it's not that hard, but it's harder and harder to do in today's era. And so when you can bundle up in a cohort like you do, and you can go out and do service in different communities in the country, I think what better way and what better lens to see yourself and to see your neighbors as well. I mean, ultimately, we are all products of our communities, big and small. And so in some ways, you know, I think you can't really know yourself until you have an opportunity to lift your head to the community that's around you. And you're living that dream loud and proud, and at the same time, doing good in the world. So congratulations to you on living a great gap year. We'll figure out a way to call you a Gap Year Association member. I'll give you a free coupon or something.
Awesome.
Thank you very much for the time and the contributions. And right back at you, Barbara. What an excellent job leading this organization through some unprecedented change, and to see it land in this direction with a new with new branding, clarity of purpose, and to rise to the demand that's upon us. Well done. Thank you to both of you, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks, Karina.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Take care. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and go out there and do something kind for your neighbor. Thank you. Bye.